Welcome back to Limcube Plus, everyone. On this channel, I'm 100%ing Breath of the Wild by a bit every day until Tears of the Kingdom comes out. And yes, I have found a pretty much flawless rip of the soundtrack we talked about yesterday, and I might just honestly have it on every single time now we start a new episode. As you can hear, I'm still sick. I will also link this in the description, by the way, if you want to get your hands on this really high quality rip from, I think, the most interesting Tears of the Kingdom soundtrack yet. So make sure to check that out. I'm hunting down some Guardians right now because I need to get the Shoka Tatone Shrine, where you have to show Loon 3 pictures of 3 different Guardian types in order to actually access it. But obviously I have a topic prepared for today, and that's going to be one change that I think could be extremely beneficial to Tears of the Kingdom. And that would be the quick menu no longer pausing the game. I'm gonna get right into it. Now, we've seen that the quick menu does still pause the game, and I don't really think that will change. Just like right now, the D-pad quick menu freezes the game for a little bit, but I will explain you why I think if it was just on screen and the game in the background would continue to play, that would be a tremendously good change for a ton of different reasons. Now, reason number one, and this is actually something a lot of people have been concerned about, me included, is the arrow fusing mechanic. In case elemental arrows are gone from the game, there's no more shock, freeze, fire, bomb arrows, etc. And you always have to fuse arrows that you want to use, pausing after every single shot to make another arrow. I'm kind of like showing you how that would look like here. Would actually be really lame. Like, you would constantly be in the pause menu, kind of breaking up the combat, and it wouldn't feel good at all. So unless there's a mechanic where you can somehow mass fuse different items at the same time, I honestly think there would be a pretty good chance that fusing arrows would get boring pretty quickly, because you basically have to constantly pause the game every single time you want to fuse an arrow. Maybe that's also intentionally done in a way, so that these fused arrows are not too overpowered and you're supposed to only use them like once at a time. I can't see a world where this is true, but if the game wasn't paused while you fuse arrows, I think that would feel a little bit more dynamic. Fuse an arrow, maybe see if there's a good downtime to do it, boom, quick fuse as the game continues in the background. Now, another great reason the game shouldn't pause when you press up on the D-pad, and they basically have perfect systems for this now, is one complaint that I always had with Breath of the Wild's combat, which is that it's too easy. And I know some of you will disagree, but I think it's too easy. So this could also be a change that would only be available in the game's Pro, Master mode, whatever you want to call it in that game. And that's that you can basically heal without a downside at every point in the game. You're fighting a Lionel, you're about to take a hit, press pause, eat a durian, move on, you know? Now, they already have this perfect system now that you can basically heal out of the quick menu. You select the right material that you want to eat and then eat it. But if now on top of that the gameplay would also continue in the back, suddenly you have to actually think about when you are getting this on screen. It would feel more smooth. It would at least... It wouldn't make it too hard, because you can still do it as you fight, but you can't just do it as you're about to get hit, making combat a little bit more dynamic. And again, being able to kind of balance out when you can quickly maybe back off, open up the D-pad as the enemy is still chasing you, find the healing item that you want to use quickly. I think it would make it feel a little bit more, action-packed, a little bit less boring. I don't know. Obviously, there's going to be a normal pause menu. I think that definitely makes sense, right? And it does make sense to me that this menu pauses the game, not like actual Dark Souls or Elden Ring right now, where even the pause menu doesn't pause the game and you can still get hit. I like that this is in the game, but I think it would be cool if the D-pad wouldn't pause the game, and this menu would maybe be disabled during combat, even if that's only in the game's Master, Expert mode, or whatever. And again, especially the fuse mechanic for arrows, but I want to make another point about fuse. Not only do I think this change would be good for fusing arrows, it would be much cooler for fusing materials to your weapons, you know? Or even switching weapons, being able to quickly switch weapons with the D-pad, and then maybe getting access to a different fuse material. It would just make the combat feel so much more active, in my opinion. Now, there's no confirmation yet. I keep assuming that it's possible to fuse materials to your weapons. By the way, the reason I'm getting this is because we still need a location, in case you're wondering. So I'm constantly assuming that yes, you can fuse materials to your sticks. Let's say, let's keep it basic. Let's say fuse a fire choo-choo to your stick to make like a little fire explosion on hit. And those specific things, even for the shields, right, would feel so much more cool, so much cooler, in my opinion, if the game was actually happening still in the background. Do a hit, switch to an ice, like maybe with an ice choo-choo, immediately switch to a fire choo-choo, break that on the next hit. Like, I think it would feel great. And a little bit more challenging, because I catch myself many times that sometimes I like hold the D-pad, think about my next move, and then switch. And in general, that's fine. But I think, again, my number one push is probably... The other thing is like a personal preference, but my number one thing is the fuse mechanic for arrows. Having to pause the game after every single shot, you guys know how much people use bow and arrow, would probably feel very clunky. That's my my fear. Now, one last point as we go over to Loon and show her the pictures that we took at the beginning of this episode. One last point is going to be mods, and especially multiplayer mods. We don't know if there's going to be any multiplayer in Tears of the Kingdom. I honestly doubt it at this point. I think PointCrow is about to release his version of the multiplayer mods publicly, or at least in his Discord or something. And I think it's okay. Like, I'm not like super hyped about it, because there's only so much you can do, and systems like those, like the D-pad, actually I think make it quite a little bit harder to get mods like this running, because imagine there's a multiplayer mod and one person presses the D-pad. Should the game like pause for all of them? Like, how do you handle that? That's a small, I think, issue that could be fixed by disabling the pause menu. I actually don't even know how PointCrow's mod does it. Maybe they just maybe they have a way to do that where the game actually continues, or they just don't allow the D-pad menu in that mod. I haven't gotten my hands on it yet. I might try it out when it becomes available. But that just as a small other upside that I wanted to briefly touch on. Now, again, I will show Loon the pictures here, but I'm probably going to call it a day as we get the shrine out of the ground. I actually feel like I was so excited about the opening tune that I don't even remember if I told you guys how many days we still have to Tears of the Kingdom. With my math, which is essentially for most of us the 11th, when most people will start playing, because you can get it in the Japanese eShop, or you see footage online from people in Japan playing it. It's 41 days until the game comes out, which means tomorrow it will be 40. This will be the last 10-day barrier we're kind of about to breach before we get to 1 month, which is crazy to me. I think time has especially recently passed so quickly that in a bit it'll be 1 month until we get to play the game. Like, a month. That's literally nothing. So thank you so much for everyone that is hanging in there with me and is probably now even more excited to play the game. I think about it like probably like around 25 to 35% of my daily thoughts. And unfortunately, some of the other thoughts are still occupied with this game. I was just practicing some Old Shrines stuff because I'm planning, even though I am still sick, to probably try to stream tomorrow. Hopefully I can recover my voice a little bit more. But thank you for watching. Let me know if you think it's a stupid idea to not pause the game during the D-pad press, or if you can see where I'm coming from. Again, thank you for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow when Tears of the Kingdom is out in 40 days. Peace.